The woman hauled timber uphill alone. Matt Shaw watched from his horse on the ridge, late October wind biting through his coat. The log was pine, full length, heavy enough that 2 men would struggle with it. She had rope over her shoulder, boots carving tracks in rocky Colorado soil, her worn canvas jacket streaked with dirt and sawdust. Most women would have quit an hour ago. He nudged his horse down the slope toward Gunnison Valley. The half-built cabin came into view. Walls barely shoulder-high, no roof, surrounded by scattered tools and cut lumber. A canvas tent sagged beside it, smoke rising from a small fire pit. She heard his approach and straightened, breathing hard. Didn't run, didn't call for help, just stood there, chin up, watching him come. "Afternoon," Matt said, dismounting. "That's ambitious work for one person. Don't need charity from strangers." Her voice was steady, but her hand stayed on the rope like she might use it as a weapon if needed. Matt studied the walls. "Roof won't hold without proper corner bracing. Winter's coming in 2 weeks, maybe less. I'll manage." He looked at her then. Really looked. 3 parallel scars ran from her left temple down to her jaw, pale lines against weathered skin. Bear claws, he recognized immediately. Old wounds, healed well. They didn't disfigure her the way she seemed to think. Strong cheekbones, clear eyes, honest face. She was actually quite pretty, scars and all, but he could see in her defensive posture that she'd been told otherwise too many times to believe anything different. She read his gaze and her shoulders tensed. "I'm not pretty," she whispered, defensive, like she'd said it 100 times before and was tired of the conversation. Matt met her eyes. "That's fine. The last pretty woman nearly destroyed me. Winter doesn't care about pretty faces. It kills the fancy ones first out here." She blinked. Something shifted in her expression. Surprise, maybe, or suspicion that kindness might be another kind of trap. "Why would you help me?" she asked. "Because I'm tired of beautiful liars and empty promises." He picked up her hammer, tested its weight. The handle was wrapped in cloth strips for a smaller grip. "You got nails?" She hesitated, then nodded toward a crate. "I can pay with labor. I cook, I mend. Fair enough?" He walked to the nearest wall, examined the joints. "What's your name?" "Hannah Pritchard." "Matt Shaw. I run cattle 3 miles south." He glanced at the sky, clouds thickening, light fading. "We start tomorrow at first light." Hannah watched him ride away until the pines swallowed him. Then she sat down hard on a stump, hands shaking. First snow in 2 weeks, first hope in 6 months. She wasn't sure which scared her more. Matt crouched by Hannah's fire the next afternoon, examining her tools while she boiled coffee in a dented pot. The hammer, the sorted nails, the careful stacks of lumber, everything spoke of someone who planned, who thought ahead despite impossible odds. "You do good work," he said. "Taught myself." She handed him a tin cup. "After my husband left." Matt sipped the coffee, strong and bitter, cowboy style. "Town's got a lot of abandoned wives. Why buy land out here alone?" Hannah's jaw tightened. "Michael was a gambler. Lost everything we had, the house, the savings, even my mother's jewelry. One night, he just left. Didn't say goodbye, didn't leave a note. Just gone." She stared into the fire. "Heard 6 months later he died in a shootout in Denver. Some debt he couldn't pay. I'm sorry." "Don't be. The leaving hurt worse than the dying." She touched her scars unconsciously. "I got these trying to save our cabin from a bear that broke in looking for food. Michael was in town gambling away our winter supplies. I fought it alone, killed it, but not before it marked me." She looked at him directly. "Town decided a scarred woman living alone was either cursed or sinful, so I bought this land claim with the last money I had. Figured if I'm going to be alone, might as well be on my own terms." Matt set down his cup. "Had a wife, Catherine, beautiful woman from Boston. Everyone said I was lucky." He paused. She hated it here. The isolation, the work, the silence. Started taking laudanum for her nerves, then morphine. By the end, she couldn't get through a day without it. His voice went flat. "She took too much one night. Accident or purpose, I'll never know." Hannah's expression softened. "I'm sorry. Town blamed me. Said I should have sent her back east, should have given her the life she wanted. Maybe they were right." He stood, brushed off his pants. "But I'm done with beautiful things that break. I need something that lasts." Hannah stood too, studying him with new understanding. So, this arrangement is practical. Practical, Matt agreed. You need help before winter. I need meals and someone who understands hard work. Nobody needs to complicate it. Agreed. They shook hands. Her grip was firm, calloused, honest. He noticed she didn't look away from his gaze. We'll start on the roof frame tomorrow, he said. Hannah watched until the trees swallowed him. Then she turned back to her half-built cabin, something unfamiliar stirring in her chest. Hope was dangerous. But maybe, this once, it was worth the risk. 1 week later, snow began to fall. Hannah measured boards while Matt sawed, their breath fogging in the cold November air. The cabin walls were complete now, the roof frame half finished. They worked in efficient silence, a rhythm developed through days of shared labor. Hold this steady, Matt said, lifting a beam. She braced it while he hammered. Snow dusted their shoulders, melting against their necks. Michael never built anything, Hannah said suddenly. Just tore things down. Our savings, our future, my trust. She stared at the beam she was holding. The bear attack happened because he wasn't there. He was never there when it mattered. Matt kept hammering, but listened. When I heard he died, my first thought wasn't grief. It was relief. Her voice dropped. What kind of person feels relief when their husband dies? Matt set down the hammer. The kind who survived something that should have killed them. He looked at the mountains. When Catherine died, I felt guilty for feeling free. Spent 2 years hating myself for it. Maybe we feel guilty, Hannah said quietly, because we wanted to be the ones who left first. But we stayed, and that makes us feel weak. Maybe. Matt picked up his hammer again. Or maybe survival looks different than we thought it would. The snow intensified suddenly. Thick flakes, wind picking up. Matt squinted at the sky. We need to stop. This is turning into a blizzard. You should go before it gets worse. Too late for that. He secured the tarp over the unfinished roof. I'm staying the night. Hannah's face went carefully blank. There's only one fire. We'll manage. By nightfall, the storm howled outside. They sat by the fire inside the half-finished cabin, tarp overhead, sharing Hannah's single blanket around their shoulders. Not touching, but close enough to feel each other's warmth. You know how to shoot? Matt asked. Not well. I'll teach you tomorrow if this storm breaks. With bears around, you need to defend yourself properly. Hannah looked at him. Why do you care? Because you're building something real. That's rare enough to be worth protecting. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire. Somewhere around midnight, exhausted from days of hard labor, Hannah's head drooped against his shoulder. Matt went very still, afraid to wake her, afraid to move. At dawn, she stirred and realized where she was. Their eyes met. Neither spoke, neither pulled away. Then Matt looked through the doorway, just a frame, no door yet, and his expression hardened. What? Hannah asked. Horse tracks in the snow, fresh ones. Someone circled the cabin during the storm. They stood together in the doorway. In the distance, riders approached. 3 men, led by Charles Blackwood, the Gunnison banker, his wife Margaret beside him in a covered buggy. Matt moved closer to Hannah. Close enough that his presence made a statement. The town had come calling. 2 weeks later, the cabin was nearly complete. Door hung, windows sealed, chimney drawing smoke properly. Hannah chinked the gaps between logs while Matt fitted shutters outside. She heard him humming, the first music this silent place had known. They'd found a rhythm. She anticipated his needs. He read her exhaustion without asking. Conversations deepened beyond survival. You mentioned you can't shoot straight, Matt said during their noon break. Let's fix that this afternoon. Hannah produced her husband's old rifle from the tent. Michael left this behind. Never showed me how to use it properly. I'll show you. That afternoon, Matt set up targets against the tree line, tin cans balanced on stumps. Hannah held the rifle awkwardly, uncertain. Here. Matt stepped behind her, his chest close to her back. Arms up. Tighter. His hands guided hers into position. Breathe. Don't hold it. Just breathe natural. Hannah felt her heart racing, and it had nothing to do with the rifle. His warmth against her back, his patience, his gentle corrections. It was intimacy without demand, closeness without threat. Squeeze the trigger slow. Don't jerk it. She fired. The can flew off the stump. She turned, shocked, and found herself inches from his face. In the afternoon sunlight, her face and profile, as she'd concentrated on the target, he'd caught himself thinking she was beautiful. Not despite the scars, but entirely. The whole picture of who she was. Strong, determined, real. He didn't say it. She wouldn't believe him yet. "Good," he said quietly. "Again." They spent an hour like that, him teaching, her learning, both aware of every accidental touch, every moment of necessary contact. By the time they finished, Hannah could hit 5 targets out of 6. "You're a natural," Matt said. "I had a good teacher." Their eyes held a moment too long. Then they heard horses approaching and stepped apart quickly. A messenger from town arrived with supplies. The boy handed Matt a sealed letter before riding off. Matt opened it, his expression darkening. "Your arrangement with the Pritchard woman damages both your reputations. Proper people take notice. End this before the Harvest Festival, or others will end it for you. The land has value best served by proper owners. See Blackwood." "Blackwood," Hannah said quietly. "The banker. He approached me last month about buying this land. Said a woman alone couldn't possibly manage it. When I refused, he said I'd regret it." Matt crumpled the letter. "He wants your creek access. Water rights are worth more than gold in a drought year. Let him threaten. These walls don't care about bankers." That evening, they sat on the finished porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple. Matt had brought a bottle of whiskey from town, not for drinking, but for celebrating small victories. The cabin stood complete behind them, every beam and nail a testimony to their shared work. "I haven't felt peaceful in 2 years," Matt said. "Not until now." Hannah looked at him. In the golden light, his weathered face seemed softer, almost vulnerable. "Me neither." Outside the tree line, hidden in shadows, one of Blackwood's ranch hands watched through field glasses, taking notes for his employer. The storm was coming, but not the kind you could shelter from with walls. The Gunnison Harvest Festival filled the town square with music, food, and 300 people celebrating the season's end. Matt escorted Hannah into town, knowing they were walking into a trap but refusing to hide. Hannah wore her only good dress, simple blue calico, her hair pulled back to reveal her scars clearly. No hiding, no shame. Matt walked beside her with quiet pride, his hand at her elbow. They felt the stares immediately. Conversation stopped, women turned away, men looked at Hannah with either pity or contempt, at Matt with confusion. Why would a respectable rancher waste himself on damaged goods? Margaret Blackwood stood at the center of the church women's circle like a queen holding court. She was 50, elegant, with iron-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. When she saw Hannah and Matt, her smile was cold calculation. "Mrs. Shaw," Margaret called across the square, using Matt's dead wife's title deliberately. Or, I suppose I should say, Mr. Shaw and his guest. The crowd quieted, everyone watching. Charles Blackwood emerged from the men's group, his expensive suit marking him as the wealthiest man in Gunnison. He approached with false concern etched on his face. "Matt, Miss Pritchard." He nodded to Hannah without looking at her scars. "I must speak plainly, as a friend. Your arrangement has become the subject of unfortunate gossip. For both your sakes, it should end. Miss Pritchard, my offer stands. I'll buy your land at fair value. You can relocate to Denver, start fresh where people don't know it was a trap, beautifully set, public concern, reasonable offers, all designed to make them look foolish or shameful for refusing." Hannah stood straight, chin up. "My history is my own, Mr. Blackwood, and my land stays mine." Margaret moved closer, her voice dripping with false sympathy, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Dear, we're only trying to help. Surely you understand how this looks, a widow and a widower, living in isolation, no proper chaperone. The Bible speaks clearly about avoiding even the appearance of evil." "The arrangement is temporary," someone said. Matt heard the words leave his mouth and immediately knew he'd made a terrible mistake. But panic had seized him. The weight of judgment, the fear of scandal, the ghost of Catherine's shame and his own guilt driving him to protect his reputation at Hannah's expense. "Temporary?" Margaret pounced. "So there's nothing improper occurring?" "It's just work," Matt heard himself say. "The cabin's nearly done. Our contract ends soon." The trap had closed perfectly. He'd reduced everything. The shared nights, the laughter, The trust they'd built, to nothing. Just work, just business. Made Hannah disposable again. Hannah went rigid beside him, her face drained of color, then flushed with humiliation. She turned and walked toward their wagon without a word. Charles Blackwood's smile widened. See? Even Mr. Shaw understands the impropriety. Miss Pritchard, when you're ready to discuss selling, you know where to find me. Matt stood frozen in the town square, the stares of 300 people burning into him, and understood exactly what he'd done. He'd chosen reputation over truth, cowardice over courage. He'd become the thing he'd hated most, someone who abandoned people when it cost too much to stand beside them. The silent ride back lasted forever. At her cabin, Hannah climbed down from the wagon without looking at him. Don't come back. The cabin's finished. Our contract's done. She closed the door he'd hung in his face. Matt sat in the wagon as snow began to fall again, understanding that he'd destroyed something real to protect something worthless, and this time there might be no way to repair it. Christmas week arrived cold and clear. Matt sat alone in his ranch house, a whiskey bottle on the table, untouched, staring through frost-glazed windows at nothing. The house was warm, well-built, completely empty. He'd done it again, chosen appearance over honesty. Let fear drive him instead of courage. Hannah had offered him something real, rough, scarred, true, and he'd called it just work to save face in front of people whose opinions meant nothing. 3 miles away, Hannah worked alone in lamplight, finishing the final details her cabin needed. Shutters adjusted, hinges oiled, small repairs. Her hands moved automatically, but her mind was numb. She should have known better than to hope. Men always disappointed, even good ones, especially good ones, because their betrayals hurt worse. Christmas morning, she woke to find something on her doorstep. Wildflowers frozen in ice, preserved like memories. No note, just flowers. She carried them inside and wept. That afternoon, Samuel Reed, the old rancher who'd taught Matt everything about cattle, rode up to Matt's door. Samuel was 70, weathered as saddle leather, and not a man who wasted time on fools. "You look like hell," Samuel said, not dismounting. "Feel worse." "Good. That woman built more with broken hands than most men manage with whole ones." Samuel's voice was harsh. "Catherine wanted pretty. This one wants real. You going to let fear win twice? What if she won't forgive me? Then you earned it, but you still got to try or die alone in that cold house you're making." Samuel rode off, leaving Matt standing in his empty yard. Matt looked at the small family cemetery on his property. Catherine's grave stood alone, a marble stone he'd paid too much for, trying to make up for failing her in life. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "Sorry I couldn't be what you needed. Sorry I couldn't love you the way you wanted." He took a breath. "But I'm done apologizing for wanting something real." He saddled his horse and rode toward town. The Gunnison town hall was packed for the monthly land rights meeting. Every rancher, every businessman, every property owner in the valley had come to discuss water claims and boundary disputes. Charles Blackwood presided from the front table, his authority unchallenged. Matt stood in the back, hat in his hands, until Blackwood finished discussing irrigation schedules. "One more matter," Matt said loudly, and the room fell silent. Charles looked up, annoyed. "Mr. Shaw, this isn't the time for—" "It's exactly the time." Matt walked to the front, facing the entire town. "I'm here to confess my cowardice and to set some things right about Hannah Pritchard." Margaret Blackwood sat in the front row, her face hardening. 3 weeks ago at the Harvest Festival, I called our partnership just work to save my reputation. That was a lie. It was cowardice. She was the realest thing I've known in years, and I reduced her to nothing because I was afraid of what you'd all think. He turned to face Charles directly. "And you, Blackwood, I know you want her land. I know you've been pressuring her, threatening her, trying to force her out. That water claim is worth 10 times what you offered, and we both know it." Charles stood. "Mr. Shaw, you're making serious accusations." "I'm making true accusations. You tried to use shame and gossip to steal land you couldn't buy legally. You turned this town against a woman whose only crime was surviving things that would have broken you." Matt addressed the room. "Hannah Pritchard survived a bear attack alone, built a cabin with her own hands, fought every day to make something of land everyone said was worthless. And what did we do? Gossiped about her scars, Judged her for living alone. Let men like Blackwood try to run her off. He met Margaret's eyes. She's worth 10 of your so-called decent folk, Mrs. Blackwood. She doesn't hide behind pretty dresses and false concern. She's honest in a way this town forgot how to be. The room sat in stunned silence. If you want to judge someone, Matt finished, judge me. I failed her when she needed someone to stand beside her. That's my shame, not hers. He walked out, leaving the town hall buzzing with shocked conversation and Charles Blackwood's face red with fury. Hannah was on the roof hammering final shingles when she heard hoofbeats. She didn't stop working, didn't acknowledge Matt when he appeared below. He dismounted, picked up the spare hammer, and climbed the ladder without asking permission. They worked side by side in silence for an hour. The last shingles went down, completing the cabin they'd built together. Sitting on the ridgeline, breathing hard, Matt finally spoke. I stood in front of the whole town this morning, told them everything. He stared at the mountains. Told them about my cowardice at the festival, about calling us just work when you're the realest thing I've known in years. Told them you're worth 10 of their so-called decent folk. Hannah said nothing, waiting. I exposed Blackwood's land scheme, made it clear he's been trying to steal your water rights. He turned to face her. And I told them to judge me, not you, because I'm the one who failed. She studied him, gray-streaked hair, weathered face, earnest eyes that finally saw her clearly. I don't need rescuing, she said slowly. Never did. I know, but I wouldn't mind a partner, equal share, equal say. Hannah looked at the cabin below them, every beam, every nail, every moment of shared work visible in its completion. Then she looked at the man who'd helped her build it, who'd failed her once, but had found the courage to make it right. Partners, she said finally. They shook hands. This time he pulled her close, asking permission with his eyes first. She nodded. Their first kiss was gentle, terrified, perfect. A sound made them look up. On the horizon, dust rose, wagons approaching. What's that? Hannah asked. After my speech, some folks felt ashamed. They're bringing lumber and tools. Matt smiled slightly. They want to help build your barn. Our barn, Hannah corrected. They climbed down as the first wagon arrived. Families with children, men with tools, women with food baskets. Even Preacher Thompson came, awkward but genuine in his apology. Charles Blackwood did not come. Neither did Margaret. They'd lost their power when the truth came out. The community that had judged them came to rebuild. Hannah stood beside Matt, watching them work, and felt something she'd thought lost forever. She belonged somewhere again. Late March brought the first true spring day. Hannah woke in the finished cabin, sunlight streaming through windows Matt had fitted perfectly. He was asleep in the chair by the banked fire. He still rode home most nights, courting properly, respecting her need for time and space. She watched him sleep, this man who'd chosen truth over ease, partnership over appearance. His face was peaceful in ways it hadn't been last fall. He stirred, met her eyes, smiled. Mornin'? Mornin'? They cooked breakfast together, eggs from her chickens, bread she'd baked, coffee he'd brought from Gunnison, easy partnership, comfortable silence. Outside, the garden plot waited. They spent the morning planting. Carrots, beans, potatoes, wildflowers at the edges because Hannah wanted color. A rider approached around noon. Charles Blackwood, hat in hand, face gray. Miss Pritchard, Mr. Shaw. He cleared his throat. I came to apologize. I was wrong. About everything. Hannah studied him calmly. You weren't wrong, Mr. Blackwood. You're calculating. There's a difference. I hope there's no hard feelings. There aren't, but there's no business either. Good day. He left, dismissed without anger, without power to hurt them any more. Evening came soft and golden. They sat on the porch Matt had built, watching mountains turn purple in fading light. Marry me, Matt said quietly. When you're ready. Could be tomorrow. Could be years. I'm not going anywhere. Hannah took his hand. Ask me when the wildflowers bloom full. I want to say yes when the world's alive again. Deal. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the first stars appear. The cabin stood solid behind them. Every beam, every nail, every moment of shared work visible in its walls. The garden held seeds of future harvests. You know, Matt said, you're beautiful. Hannah touched her scars, smiling slightly. I'm scarred. Same thing, the way I see it. Shows you fought and won. Night fell completely, firelight glowing warm through the cabin windows. In the meadow, early wildflowers dotted the grass, small, determined, reaching towards spring, pretty fades like summer paint, fancy breaks under winter wind. But honest. Honest builds a life that holds. In that holding, broken things don't just mend, they become something stronger. And when spring comes, as it always does, love built through labor blooms deeper than any flower ever could. The mountains watched over them, ancient and patient, as the scarred woman and the widowed rancher sat together on their porch, building tomorrow one quiet moment at a time. If you enjoyed this story of courage and honor on the frontier, click that subscribe button now. We have dozens more tales of unlikely heroes, dangerous choices, and life-changing decisions waiting for you. Ready for another unforgettable story? Click the video on your screen right now to watch a tale of survival and justice that will stay with you long after it ends. Don't miss it.